Well, welcome everyone to another Peaceful Solution Character Education Certification class. I hope everyone's doing well this evening. Everybody has their books ready, their pens, paper, pencils to take notes, right? Okay. My name is William. I'm just one of the many instructors in the Peaceful Solution. And before we get started in my portion of the today's lesson, I want to take a little time to go over what Chris, the previous teacher, went over. If everybody would go ahead and open up their Peaceful Solution books, I'll give you a page number here. Let's go over to the note to the road less traveled here on page 2 in your character unit. He talked about this road less traveled that we're all, that the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program is wanting us to choose. Okay, and you know it's not an easy thing in today's society to choose what's right. Okay, you know, to go the right way, because there's so many influences out there that are bombarding us constantly, trying to get us to think that, we can go around the rules, or we can do things, that we can cut corners, break the rules, and we're still going to have an okay outcome. But the truth is, there's always, as a Peaceful Solution, we're going to learn in this program, there's consequences when we take shortcuts or we try to go around the rules. And so the Peaceful Solution is saying, if you want to avoid those pitfalls that are out there, those traps, those consequences, you've got to take the road less traveled, okay? And it tells you it's not a very popular road. It's not a road that everyone else is taking, but it's really, if you do choose that road less traveled, it's really a beneficial road, and it does bring great results, and it does bring peace to a person's life. That doesn't mean you're not going to have tests and you're not going to have things that come upon you that it's not always going to be comfortable, okay? But you're always going to have a great result if you practice the Peaceful Solution. So it says, in the middle of the page, it says that the introduction unit of the Peaceful Solution is going to lay a foundation of moral character development that can remain with us for a lifetime. So we learned a lot of things in school, right? And some of us are still in school. A lot of you are very young, and some of you are still in other educational pursuits. Knowledge, as Chris told us last time, is power. There's power in knowledge. The more we know, the more we can avoid those pitfalls and traps that are out there that I just told you about. But these lessons, it's not like when we went to elementary school or even middle school or high school and we learned, say, let's take algebra, for instance. I remember seeing on Facebook one time, it was a meme, I guess they call it, and it had a lady kind of looking off into off into space, and she's thinking to herself, it's been 40 years and I haven't used algebra once. Right? We don't use algebra when we're at Walmart or HEB shopping, right? So, when we don't use or we don't practice a certain technique or a certain, like math, for instance, we tend to forget. We forget that particular subject. But Peaceful Solution, character education, moral education is something we're going to use every second, every hour, every minute of the day for the rest of our life, no matter what pursuit, whatever field we go into, whether we're at school, whether we're at home, whether we're alone, wherever we are, we're going to be needing this Peaceful Solution in all of our decision making on a daily basis. So this program is going to lay that foundation of moral character development that's going to be with us for a lifetime. And it says there's a wealth of knowledge in this book, and there is. I've been a student and a teacher in the Peaceful Solution since 2002. And I can tell you right now, I still haven't perfected these techniques, okay? I think all the teachers will tell you that. None of us are perfect, but I'll tell you what, when you look back a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and even 18 years ago, you'll see the difference if you just persist in it and you keep doing it and you don't give up in teaching this program and practicing it on a daily basis in your everyday life. Okay, so it also says here on the bottom paragraph on page 2, it says, we believe the principles contained in this book, when applied to your everyday life, will bring you such abundant living, you'll be forever appreciative. But now it says it's up to you. It's up to us. You know, we have to choose to do the things that we read in this book. It's kind of like reading a recipe for a cake, right? But if you don't, you know, you might have all your ingredients in front of you, you know, ready to bake that cake. But if you don't follow the recipe and you don't mix the ingredients and you don't put it in the oven and you don't bake it for an hour or whatever it asks for, you don't get it done. So we have to actually apply the things that we learn in this program. So it's up to us to take hold of the principles, these moral principles that will bring success. And remember, it will never let anyone or anything deter you from this road less traveled, this path that the Peaceful Solution is wanting all of us to take. So let's turn now to page 3. And I'm going to remind you, I'm going to go over the step that we need to be following here in teaching this first lesson, chapter 1. This is from LP, it's step 2. It says, tell students that today they will learn what character is and how it's developed, and they're going to learn how to distinguish, and that word distinguish means to tell the difference between personality and character. Explain to students that everyone has character, and how character is developed in each person is a process that begins before birth. We'll be talking about that, and continues throughout his or her life. So we're on page 3, and we're going to read chapter 1, More Than Meets the Eye, the introduction here. And at the top, there's a little cloud there in the top right corner, a little thought cloud. And it says, quote, men own possessions, but honorable men possess positive character, the Peaceful Solution. And that word honor, you know, honorable men. Now, we know everyone owns things, you know, from the earlier units of the Peaceful Solution. You know, everyone owns things, and we learned that in the ownership lessons. People own property, they own cars, they own boats, they own furniture, they own all sorts of electronics, etc. But, you know, the Peaceful Solution says honorable men possess this positive character right here. They take hold of it. They possess it. And, you know, I was thinking about that word honorable because, you know, did you know there was a time that there's always kind of been, depending on who you ask what honor is, you'll probably get in different time periods throughout history, you'd probably get different answers. And I'm going to give you an example. Today, well, let me go back for a minute. Let me go back a little bit here. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this here on the screen. If you could zoom in on this just a little bit. Writing's kind of small. Just 1 second. Okay. All right. Now here's a picture of two gentlemen. Last name Hamilton and last name Burr. I think Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. Okay. These were considered true gentlemen back in the day. I'm talking about in like the 1800s. Now, it says, in our modern age, solving a problem by asking a dude to step outside is generally considered an immature, low-class thing to do. I'm sure you remember, you know, some of us older people remember in high school that, you know, somebody would call us out after school. I call you out. I'll meet you outside in the parking lot, right? Well, that's considered nowadays a very immature thing for people to do, and you can get in a lot of trouble for doing something like that. Okay, but notice this. But for many centuries, challenging another man to a duel or, a pistol fight was not only considered a pinnacle of honor, but was a practice reserved for the upper classes, those deemed by society to be true gentlemen. Okay? So it used to be that if a man, and it gives this quote here, a man may shoot the man who invades his character as he may shoot who attempts to break into his house. That's a quote from Samuel Johnson. He was one of the great thinkers in the 1800s. But notice, this was considered, a gunfight. Challenging somebody to a gun duel was actually considered to be an honorable thing. Okay? And it was a great, and whoever won, of course, was the hero, a very honorable gentleman, a true gentleman. Okay? But now, things have changed. You can't just go out now and challenge somebody to a duel if you don't like what they say or how they look at you, or if they do you wrong, or they somehow say disparaging things about you or whatever. You can't just do that. That would consider to be something that's illegal in today's society. But just to show you that, depending on who you ask in different times, different ages, different cultures, different things you'll get different answers about these types of things. But what we want to make sure of is when we get our definitions of what honor is or what character is, etc., we want to make sure that we get them from the Peaceful Solution material, because there's all kinds of different thoughts out there about these different words. And I'm going to give you another example here. It says, chapter 1, More Than Meets the Eye, it says, have you ever heard someone say, oh, him, yeah, he's a real character? What do you think that means? What do you think that means, when somebody says, oh, yeah, him, he's a real character? I know what I thought it meant when somebody said that. Usually I would get the idea that when somebody said, oh, yeah, he's a real character, that meant something like, yeah, he's real funny, or, he's, depending on, what kind of person it was. Oh, yeah, he's a real character. Might have meant, oh, yeah, don't, he's funny, but don't leave your wallet laying around anywhere or something like that. Everybody has their ideas that come in their mind when somebody says, oh, yeah, he's a real character. But what does that mean, character, when you hear that word character? Because, again, depending on what time of, what period of time you live in, you might get different answers. I'm going to prove it to you, right? And I'm going to show you. The word character, I'll just show you how it kind of evolved over time here. It says, mid-14th century, character meant symbol marked or branded on the body, a symbol or drawing used in sorcery, alphabetic letter, graphic symbol, standing for a sound or syllable. And kind of like today, where you have characters on a typewriter, like letters, right? Letters or numbers, right? Those were considered characters. Okay, the meaning of Greek character was extended in Hellenistic times by metaphor to mean a defining quality or individual feature. Hellenistic times were between like Alexander the Great in 323 BC to 30 BC in that time period. That was Hellenistic times. Now, in 1660s, notice this. The word character evolved to mean, it says, sense of person in a play or novel is first attested in the 1660s in reference to the defining qualities he or she is given by the author. So, because if you ask a lot of people, what is character, they might say something like, well, it's like somebody in a film, or it's like a cartoon character, right? They get the idea of a person that is in a movie or in some kind of cartoon that they like to watch. So you'll get different answers when you ask different people at different times what that word character means. And there's also the examples right now in the dictionary. If you were to go to any dictionary right now and look up the word character, I'll give you one example of what you would find here. This is from yourdictionary.com. The word character. It says, what is an example of character? It says, character is defined as a trait, quality, or high moral code. An example of character is someone who is known for being funny. Okay? An example of character, another example, is a person who is trustworthy. Okay, now, if you were just to read that, if you didn't really know anything about character, if you hadn't taken the Peaceful Solution, again, it's very easy to get character and personality mixed up. Okay, and in this case, the funny, which is personality, as we're going to learn later, is actually a personality trait. It's not a character trait at all. But the example they gave of a person who is trustworthy, that is a character trait. That is a moral character trait. So, as we'll learn later on. The reason I'm showing you this now is I want you to understand that you can ask, and we ask teachers. We ask teachers in schools. We ask students. And there's been a couple people that gave us some really great answers, and they did understand the difference between character and personality. But for the most part, you'll get answers like we just saw right here, where you have character being described as, or personality being described as character, and vice versa. So you have to get your definitions again from the Peaceful Solution program. So it says, I'm going to read this again. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, him, yeah, he's a real character? What do you think that means? In fact, what does it mean to have character? In the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, you will learn what character is and why it is important that each person strives to develop a positive character. Now that's interesting right off the start there, because when you think about it, it says that we strive to develop a positive character. So that must mean, right, that there's two types of character, right? Two types of character. And I don't know if we have a microphone today, but out there in the audience, but there's two types of character, and what do you think they are? Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's positive and there's negative. There's two types of character, right? And it's asking us here to strive to develop that positive character, okay? Positive character. A character that won't land us in any kind of trouble, that's respectful, that's responsible, etc. It says, everyone has character. Character is what helps each and every person to determine what is right and wrong. Okay, everyone has character, that's true, but does everyone have positive moral character completely? No, they don't, right? That's why it says we need to strive to develop a positive character. Because in everybody, there's, as we're going to learn later on, there's a mixture in all of us. We have positive traits and we have negative traits. But what we're striving to do, what we want to do in the Peaceful Solution program, is we want to eliminate the negative traits within us once we identify them. And then we want to, what we call accentuate. Accentuate would be like you see right here with this paper. You see how I accentuated that with that highlighter right there. I highlighted that sentence to accentuate what's written there so it would stand out. Okay, so we want to accentuate these positive traits that we learn in the Peaceful Solution. Okay, so now there's something else about the word character that I want to talk about. Because remember I said that a character could be a letter, it could be a number. When you think of the word character, when you look up the definition, it'll use those types of terms, like a character on a typewriter, okay? Or when you write a letter, you're writing a character. That's what they call it. It's a character, Okay? I'm sure all of us here at one point or another in our lifetime wanted to do what we call, or what they term as, turn over a new leaf in life. Have you ever heard that term? Turn over a new leaf? Start fresh, start new. You know, stop doing certain things we're doing and start doing them differently, right? We've all been at that point, and probably more than once, okay? Because, you know, it's kind of like quitting smoking. You know, I remember one time a very wise man told me, you don't quit smoking 20 times. You know, you might have attempted it 20 times, but you didn't really make up your mind, okay? Because you only quit once, okay? When you quit something, you don't do it anymore, right? Okay, and that's because you determined in your mind at that point, you know what? I'm going to do it this time, and I'm not going to let anything deter me from doing this right here. I'm not going to let anyone or anything stop me. And that's what the peaceful solution said in that road less traveled. We can't let anyone or anything, even our own mind, even our own thoughts, you know, we can't let even our own thoughts deter us from doing what we're learning here in this peaceful solution. But kind of lost my train of thought. Sometimes I go different directions, but that word character. Yeah, that word character. We've all wanted to change something in our life at one point or another. And let me show you this about this interesting fact here. A little bit. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I think, can you all read that? A little more? Zoom out? No, right there. Okay. Okay. So here's an interesting fact. Now you see a piece of paper here. There's a boy here, and he's got a piece of paper, and the previous page has writing all over it. You know, there's scribbling and writing all over the page, right? That's what you're seeing. And he's turning this page, and you see a clean page that he's turning over to, right? It says, interesting fact, way back in the 16th century, pages in books were called leaves. Leaves, okay? So, turning over a new leaf meant that one was turning to a blank page. This idiom, or this saying, was used to signify a major change in behavior or a new stage in a person's life. Okay? So, turning over a new leaf, remember, they books, you know, like this book right here, when you turn the page, you're turning a leaf. You're turning over a new leaf. You're going to have a blank page to write on. And what I want us to do, right, you know, in this class today, and actually we can go back 2 classes, the ones that Chris gave, we need to turn over a new leaf and really strive hard to get this right. And I'm talking about all of us, okay? Myself included. We really need to try and strive hard to get and practice the techniques and principles that we're learning here. Because again, if we don't use them, we lose them. If we don't use them, well, they're just techniques. They're just principles. They're just sayings in a book. They're just knowledge. You know, we got to apply the things that we learn. And so turning over a new leaf. Now think about this. Remember I told you a letter is a character, right? So I want us to think for a minute about turning over this new leaf and this new fresh page. So we're starting on a fresh page, right? So when we write on that page, when we put characters on that page, as we write our story, because that's what we're doing, we're writing a story about ourselves. We're writing a journal, so to speak, about our journey or about ourselves. Each character that we're putting on that page, each letter that we're writing, we can think of those as the actions that we're taking, the choices that we're making. Each choice that we're making is like putting that character, each letter, okay, on that page. And we want to make sure that when we you know, once we write that book or we write that page, when we go back over that page, we can see that we made great decisions and that we didn't, you know, that we followed the things that we learned in the peaceful solution. Now, does that mean the first page is going to be, you know, perfectly, it's not going to have any mistakes, misspelled words or anything like that? No, you'll probably make some mistakes, right? But as you learn in the peaceful solution, you don't want to give up. You see where you went wrong, you see what mistake you made, or you know what wrong choice you made there in that situation, and go back and next time set your mind to do it the right way, to do it the way the peaceful solution told you. So it says a person's character. Okay, everyone has character. Character is what helps each and every person to determine what's right and wrong. A person's character consists of patterns of behavior that are considered either positive or negative. And your character reflects who you are on the inside. Okay, who you are on the inside. It goes beyond what the casual eye can see. You know, it's like, you know, remember the name of this chapter is More Than Meets the Eye. And Chris gave a great example last time. He had a picture of an iceberg. Remember that? And that iceberg, you know, didn't look really all that big when it was sticking out of the water. Now, if you were a shipmaster, or, you know, I don't know what they call guys that drive boats, but if you saw that thing, you would do all you could to avoid it, because I'm sure you all remember the story of the Titanic, right? And how on its maiden voyage it hit an iceberg and it was supposed to be unsinkable. Okay? Well, you would do your best to avoid that thing, but did you notice how big that iceberg was underneath the water? Because I always wondered, how could such a small iceberg rip a ship apart like that, the hull of a ship? But now I can see why. I never knew personally how, you know, large the iceberg is that you can't see underneath the surface. And that's what this is illustrating right here. In everything in life, there's more than meets the eye. In every person, everything that we read, everything we hear. Okay, we learn in the peaceful solution that you really need to look behind the scenes. You know, you need to fully educate yourself about things so you can know your subject, okay? So it goes beyond, our character goes beyond what the casual eye can see. You know, you can't look at somebody and know their character. Now I know, you know, I've had students in the peaceful solution, they've walked in, and I knew a gentleman that had tattoos from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. Okay? And, you know, quite frankly, even coming from the background I came from, it was a little bit scary at first. You know, I thought, well, who is this guy? Is he some kind of drug dealer? Is he a gang member, a mafia? You know, is he in mafia, or, you know, who is this guy? You know, I didn't know if I should let him in my door, or, you know, if I should, you know, I didn't know what to do. You know, I was kind of nervous about it at first. But don't you know that when I started talking to him, he had the most gentle voice, and he was one of the nicest people I ever met. Okay? But he liked tattoos. Okay? So you can't judge, as they say, you know, you can't judge people by looking at them, by their appearance, just like you can't judge a book on how great it's going to be or how bad it's going to be just by looking at the cover, right? You've got to look inside. You've got to look inside, okay? And it's the same with us too, you know. How often do we really think about the inside? What's going on the inside of us, okay? Well, when you start learning the peaceful solution, it trains you to start looking inside. Okay? You'll start looking inside and you'll start wondering, why do I make the choices I make? Why do I do these things? What makes me tick? Why do I get so angry at these situations? Or why do I treat people like this when they do this? Or whatever the situation is. You start to think about it, because that's what education does. It enlightens, it illuminates the mind. It turns a light on to where there was once it was really dark and you couldn't see anything. But when that education comes, have you ever noticed that when you learn something new, it's like you never saw it before, but when somebody brings it to your attention, you start seeing it everywhere all of a sudden. Where before you never even saw it. And you're like, wow, you know? Well, that's what education does. It enlightens you. It brings this to your attention, you know, where before you didn't know. Okay, that's where knowledge is power. It says, knowing about your character will enable you to understand why you think and act the way you do. Knowing how to identify a positive character in others will help you build strong, positive relationships. And this is going to be very important as we're going to learn in the Peaceful Solution about, you know, choosing friends and different relationships. You know, we need to make sure that we don't just, as we're going to learn, look at the outer person and the things that they like and the way they comb their hair or the way they dress or what kind of music they like to listen to or whatever outward things that we see. The most important thing about a person, the most important thing is, how do they treat people? You know, how do they treat themselves? What are they like on the inside? And that's what character, we're going to learn character is all about. It's what's going on the inside. Now, character does manifest itself in a person. It manifests in the outer person, in the actions that people take. Okay? Like, for instance, if you're walking down the road and there's a wallet laying on the ground, you're with a friend and there's a wallet laying there, and your friend picks up the wallet, you know, and he says, hey, there's like $500 in here, man. We want to split the money. You know, nobody's going to know anything about this. Well, you know, what he's showing you, what you're seeing with your eyes, what's manifesting itself right in front of you, is that this person has a dishonest character. Okay? So it's something you can see, it's something you can hear too, because he's telling you, he's asking you to split the money, right? So it's manifesting itself. But unless you were in that situation with your friend, and unless that test was placed before him with that wallet that was laying on the ground, would you really know what his character's like? No, because you get to know people's character through the actions that they take when they're faced with a choice between right and wrong. Okay? That's how you get to know somebody's character. And your own character too. You get to know your own character by the choices you make. Okay? And really, you know, I like to think in the Peaceful Solution, you know, we're really focusing on us. Okay? This class should be all about us. Our focus shouldn't be on like, yeah, I know, I saw that guy do that, you know, or, you know, look at our fellow student, you know, this or that. We should be focusing on, okay, yeah, am I doing this? Is this something that's part of my character? Do I need to eliminate that from my character? We need to focus the attention on ourselves and get our character straightened out, right? And that says, knowing about your character will enable you to understand why you think and act the way you do. Knowing how to identify positive character in others will help you build those strong, positive relationships. Relationships that last. Lasting relationships. Wouldn't you know, I'm almost 60 years old. I'll be 60 years old in another year. I don't know one person. I don't have one friend in my life from high school. I don't even know where they're at. But I had a lot of friends, air quotes, in high school. I was pretty popular in high school. You know why I was popular? No, it wasn't for the right reasons. And the friendships that I had then, I of course, this was, you know, I graduated high school in 1981. So, you know, that was quite a while ago. And, you know, and yeah, some people probably have passed on or whatever, but the relationships that I had, based on what we learned in the Peaceful Solution, what we're going to learn, they weren't really solid friendships. They weren't positive relationships. They weren't based on positive moral character that we're going to learn here, and that's why they didn't last. You know, they were friendships I'll just call them, for the sake of the peaceful solution language here, I'll call them acquaintanceships, or my acquaintances that I had in high school, the people that I knew, that I hung out with, my running buddies, my homies, or whatever you want to call them. We didn't, you know, the things that we did, they weren't like, you know, positive things that were uplifting and trying to keep each other out of trouble. Like, for instance, hey, do you want to go to my house tonight and do your homework so we can study for the test tomorrow? No, it wasn't like that. It was like, hey, where's the party at tonight? And who's got the beer and who's got the drugs or whatever else, right? So it wasn't based on, like this is showing us here, strong, positive things. It was all mainly negative things and getting in some kind of trouble. Okay? And in fairness to all of us, we didn't know back then. You know, I wasn't taught the peaceful solution. I didn't have a class in school about positive character and friendships, the stages of friendship or anything. I didn't know anything about friends other than, okay, if I like somebody, if I liked how they looked and we liked the same things, then I would probably want to hang out with them. Okay? Or I wouldn't want to hang out with them. But I wasn't choosing friends based on character. I didn't even know the word back then. Okay? I didn't even know what character was. Okay. In the final, in this last paragraph here, it says, sometimes a person's character can be mistaken for their personality. Right? Didn't we just see that? Right here? We saw it right here. Remember? It's an example of character is someone who is known for being funny. Okay? That's a mistake. And that just illustrates what it says here, that sometimes a person's character can be mistaken. Now, I'm not faulting the person that wrote this, because I thought the same thing. I told you that at the beginning of the class. I thought the same thing. You know, when somebody said, oh yeah, he's a real character, I probably thought, well, yeah, he's probably funny, or, you know, he's a troublemaker. You know, he likes to do things. He's a prankster. You know, he's probably a real prankster or whatever, you know. That's what I would think when somebody said, yeah, he's a real character. So, although they can be confused, character and personality are two very different concepts. We need both character and personality to interact and function within our society. Okay, so let's turn over to page 4. And it says at the top, character. Now, everyone has it, but where does it come from? Where does character come from? It says our character defines what is important to us, what we believe in, and how we treat others, just as clearly as our faces and voices define who we are physically. Now, take that first sentence. Our character defines what is important to us. Now, we're going to learn, as we go along in this first chapter, we're going to learn about the ingredients, or the recipe, or the factors that make up our character. Okay, and one of them is values, and that's what that means. What's important to us? You know, our character defines what is important to us, or our values. It also defines what we believe in. That means like the different morals that we've been taught or not taught. Okay, and we'll learn what morals are as well. And how we treat others, just as clearly as our faces and voices define who we are physically. In fact, our character is an integral part of who we are. Now, that's a pretty big word there sometimes. You know, I look at some words and, you know, I like to break them down a little bit, because I don't take for granted that everyone knows some of the words that are used. That word integral, some of you students right here that are in middle school, you probably do know what this word means. You might recognize it. That word integral it's like the word integer, you know, in math. An integer, of course, is a whole number. It's whole. It means it's whole. When it says integral, that word integral means it's necessary. It's necessary to make a whole or make something complete. Okay, it's necessary. So our character is necessary to make us complete as a person. Okay, remember, as we just read, we need both character and personality. So it's necessary to make a whole, to make complete. It says it's essential. That word integral means it's essential. In other words, you must have it. It means it's basic, vital. It's basic and it's vital. It's something that we need. It's kind of like your vital signs, you know, like when they take your pulse to make sure your heart's working, you know. Your character is just as important, okay? You got to have character and you got to have personality to make you as a whole person. Okay, now it says whether the character we have is positive or negative depends upon many different factors. And we're going to learn these in this first chapter. And these factors include genetics, family values, influences, experiences, choices, and environment. And together, you know, all of these things that we just read, genetics, family values, influences, experiences, choices, and environment, together they help to mold and shape our character. Let me give you an example. For instance, the things that we value, you know, like I remember, well, when you were 5 years old, what did you value? Think about it. Think about it. What did you think was important when you were 5? I can remember. I mean, I don't remember. I remember somewhat that far back, but I can probably imagine I valued candy, cookies, playing outside. I liked to climb trees. I used to love to climb trees. I would climb to the very top of that tree. I mean, I used to love playing outside, climbing trees. I valued that. Let's see, what else did I value? Oh, well, playing with toys, you know. Okay, just basically having fun, watching TV, you know, things like this. That's what I valued when I was 5. Now, what did we value when we were 15? You know, what did we think was important when we were 15 years old? Okay, everybody probably has different answers. Well, it probably changed from toys to cars, you know, like a real car. And probably being more independent, hanging out with your friends, you know, going places. We used to build tree forts or go and make underground forts. I lived in Alaska, so we had a small window of opportunity to dig underground forts. But yeah, I mean, in the summertime, we would go do those kind of things. And I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of positive things to share with you about my growing up years. I mean, I would just be telling you a fable. I was in a lot of trouble, okay? And I think a lot of it was because I wasn't supervised, okay? I thought my dad was strict because I would go to my dad on a summer day. There was no school that day, and I would say, Dad, can I go outside with Randy? Yes, son, but be back by 8, you know, and it's 12 o'clock, and that's 8 hours, right? And I thought my dad was being strict because he wouldn't let me stay out till 11 or 12 at night. Right? But do you know how much trouble we got in 8 hours? Do you know what a young person can get into in 8 hours with no adult supervision? Well, I remember, let's see, trying to derail trains with rocks. We lived in front of our house. We had a train track going by, and we would put boulders on the tracks trying to derail the next train coming by. Or we would take our BB guns and shoot neighbors' windows out just for the fun of it, to see that, you know, how it makes that little hole, you know. Just silly things that children do when there's no supervision, when there's no adult supervision. Mom and Dad would go somewhere, and they'd leave one of my teenage sisters in charge, and they'd say, we'll be back in a couple hours. And as soon as they left, you know, out came the cigarettes. Or we'd go down in the basement and have a seance and try to pull up ghosts. I don't know where we came up with these ideas, but boy, when we didn't have supervision, we were into all kinds of stuff. Okay? And I just remember in my growing up days, there just was not a lot of positive things to talk about. Now, when I went to juvenile detention, on the other hand, I loved to read. I loved to read as a child. I loved knowledge. I loved to learn about stuff, but I learned mainly nonfiction. I didn't really like reading fictional books, but I loved reading about things. I loved to learn about things. I've always had a love to learn. Okay, so, but the point is that I'm trying to make, you know, all of us come from different backgrounds. We had different experiences, different influences in our life. We had different family values. We had, of course, we all have different genetics, right? We all come from different parents, different grandparents. So we all have different backgrounds. So I'm sure some of you have some, I probably have a few positive things I can remember that I did, but for the most part, it just wasn't really positive, okay? But these things all make up who we are today, okay? All these things, genetics, the family values, the influences in our life, the experiences that we've gone through, the choices that we make in our environment, they help to shape and mold who we are today, okay? Through the study of genetics, science now knows that in addition to traits like eye, hair, and skin color, individuals also inherit intelligence, musical abilities, and specific behavioral traits or patterns. These behavioral patterns make up what is known as your character and personality. Some traits, like skin and eye color, depend solely on shared genetic information from both of your parents. Now, I brought a little something here for some of us that don't. I mean, I'm not a scientist either, but when we talk about genetics, I got a building block here to show you here. I'm sure you've probably heard of this. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that word. I like to just call it DNA, you know. But I think it's deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA for short. It says it's a molecule composed of two polynucleotide chains that coil around each other to form a double helix, carrying genetic instructions for the development, functioning, growth, and reproduction of all known organisms and many viruses. This right here, this DNA right here, that makes up everything in us. You know, our heart, everything is built from that. Okay? Everything comes, that's like the building block of everything right there, this DNA. And we're going to learn a lot about genetics and the things that we've inherited. You know, I know today in today's society, there's a lot of talk about, well, you know, you were born this way, so, you know, it's okay to be you. You know, if you were born that way, it's okay to be you. Well, it is okay to be you if it's positive. If it doesn't bring harm to you or somebody else, it is okay to be you. But if it's something that's negative, if we learn through the peaceful solution it's something that's bringing harm to us, our neighbor or the environment, then it's something we need to eliminate. We need to get rid of it. We need to do everything and strive to do everything we can to get rid of it out of our life. And in the process, teach others to do the same. Because remember, the peaceful solution isn't just for us. You know, I think Chris mentioned in his class that, you know, when you practice the peaceful solution and the positive moral traits and the peaceful solution, you're a benefit to everyone around you. Okay? You know, I mean, think about it. If you're an honest person, doesn't that benefit people that are in your environment? You know, they know you won't steal from them. They know you'll tell them the truth. You know, they know that you're trustworthy. Okay, so it benefits everyone, not just you, you know. So we'll learn more about that too as we go along. And we'll learn more about these genetics. But it says some traits like skin, eye color depend solely on the shared genetic information from both your parents. These are called fixed traits, because once determined genetically, your environment cannot change them. You know, when I read that, I think of chameleons, or, you know, I saw an octopus the other day. I could not believe it. This octopus was able to take on the very color and shape and everything of this, what do they call that stuff at the bottom of the ocean? Sorry? Coral, or, yeah, it was some kind of leafy stuff. But whatever they call that. plants at the bottom of the ocean? Seaweed, yeah, like a seaweed, right? It actually, and the seaweed color it was various colors. It wasn't just one color. It was various colors. But that octopus, in just a few seconds, took on that same exact color, and you didn't even know it was there. Now, that's amazing. You know, I thought only chameleons could change colors, and it even takes them a little bit of time to change colors. But the point is, our fixed traits, our eye color, our skin color, the shape of our nose, our height, etc. These things, you know, we were born with them. They're fixed traits because we can't change them. Okay, they're fixed. That means they're settled. Now we can disguise them. You know, like if I have blue eyes and I go get some brown contacts, I can disguise the color of my eyes. But guess what? They're still blue beneath, right? If a woman goes out and she gets hair coloring, she has blonde hair and she dyes her hair black, well, eventually the roots are going to come out blonde again, right? So it's not like you can change them. They're fixed traits, but you can alter them or, you know, change their appearance for a time. And you know what? We should want to change the negative character traits that we have. And we're going to learn more about them. We should want to become the best people we can be. And I know everybody that's tuned in right now and everyone's in this class, that's why we're here, right? All of us want to we want to take on this positive character that we're reading right here, right? So it says, both environment and what you have inherited are powerful tools that shape you into who you are. For example, if someone who is born with the ability to be very intelligent or to have great musical talent is never stimulated to learn or has no access to a musical instrument, he'll never realize his potential in these areas. You know, in other words, we have to have an opportunity. You know, we got to have the opportunity. The influences and the opportunities have to come along. Like let's say that you have the ability to play guitar. You know, it's innate. It's in you. It's in your genetics to be able to play that guitar. But if someone never gives you a guitar or hands you a guitar and says, here, why don't you try and play this? Will you ever really know? No, you won't. Okay? And that's where opportunity comes in. It's the same thing with learning moral character. Okay? How will we know to become the best person that we can become? How will we know how to become truly honest? How will we know how to become truly responsible? How will we know how to become truly forgiving? If the opportunity and the influence and the environment is not provided for us. How can someone really have that opportunity? How will they ever know? How will they ever know the best that they can be if they're not given that opportunity? Okay, and that's what this is showing us. Okay, now it says, your characters develop in much the same way. The important point to remember, though, is that your character and personality are not fixed like your skin or eye color. Character and personality can change and develop as you experience and learn new things. And, you know, that's why I'm thankful for the Peaceful Solution program because, you know, as I said, I told you what my life used to be. I'm not doing those things that I told you about that I was doing in high school. My values have changed quite a bit since my high school days. But they've changed for the better. Okay? But that was only because it wasn't because of some great thing I did or like something just fell out of the sky or, you know, someone waved a magic wand and I was better or, you know, I went to AA classes or anything like that. What made the change for me was, first of all, the experiences that I went through that led me to this program right here. Okay. I got to a point in my life where I was like, I knew everything I was doing was wrong, but I just did not know how to stop doing it. Okay. I felt powerless to stop the things that I was doing. I wanted to because I knew how harmful it was, because I was experiencing the harm. I was experiencing it firsthand. So I knew it wasn't something that was beneficial. I knew it brought a lot of pain in my life and suffering, but I just didn't know. I didn't think there was any way out of it. But guess what? The peaceful solution came along. Okay? Somebody provided me the opportunity. Okay? They provided a teacher. They provided an opportunity, the information here. But now guess what? It wasn't automatic. They provided the teacher. They provided the information. But what do you think I had to do? Well, I had to come and learn it, right? I had to take the time to learn it. And then what do you think I had to do? What do you think we have to do next? Yeah, we have to learn it, and then we've got to apply it. The application. That's really the hardest part too, isn't it? The application, It's being in a situation and remembering what we learn and applying it. But when we do apply it in our lives, when we do use what we learn here in this great program, it works. It will work. But we've got to try it. We got to give it the opportunity. Okay, so it says character and personality can change as you experience and learn new things. Remember, knowledge is power. Always keep that in your mind. Knowledge is power. And finally, it says, take a bite out of this. Even before you were born, the combination of your parents' genes began the process of forming your character. Even before you were born. Okay, that's pretty amazing, right? And we're going to learn more about that as we go along in the book here. We get into the genetics. On page 5, I want to read this real quick before we stop tonight. Think about it. It says, Jean-Baptiste de Monet-Lamarck, a French naturalist in the study of genetics, proposed that characteristics acquired during an individual's lifetime are passed on to their offspring. Here's a question for all of us to be thinking about in the next few days. What characteristics are we acquiring, and how will they affect our children? What characteristics are we acquiring, and how will they affect our children? Remember, it's not about just us. The choices that we make are affecting not only ourselves, but our children and future. Remember, genetics, it's passed down. We're affecting more than just ourselves. We're affecting the people around us in the immediate environment, in our city, in our state, and it ripples out even to the world. Our choices. We'll learn more about that. And it affects our children genetically as well. So we need to be thinking, are we making the right decisions? We'll talk more about that in the next class. And by the way, the next class is going to be on 11/29, Sunday, 11/29, so at 5:30. So please, I hope everyone continues to keep learning, and it's great. It's been a great opportunity to teach everyone. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.